Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode, I just moved my notes, 23 of the Oblivion Oath. I am Jason Bulmahn, your host and game master for this spooky session as we get closer and closer to Halloween. Before we get started here, I only have two brief notes. First of all, make sure to tune in tomorrow afternoon. We're going to be talking errata for the second edition of the Pathfinder role-playing game. The first errata document is dropping next week, and the design team and I are going to be here to chat with all of you about the upcoming errata. So tune in. That'll be tomorrow at 4 here on the Paizo Twitch. I also want to remind folks that coming this Tuesday is the premiere of Season 2 of Knights of Everflame. You'll find that on the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. If you haven't gotten caught up, you still have time, but man, it's a lot of show to watch. You have 24 hours of Season 1 to watch if you want to get caught up. But we are also going to be releasing a recap if you just want to skip ahead. So you can join us on Tuesday live. All right, that's about all I got in the way of notes. Before we get started here, I believe we have a hero point to award. Elf Tiro bought a hero point for Swift Thistle, although at the time it was just for Eric Keith.
I appreciate you
because we didn't know what you were playing just yet. But we've taken care of that. And I can see that another one is being bought right now, so I'm going to stall. We do have some name and NPCs that are still floating. I'm looking at those. I'll see what I can do about getting those in, and I'm still plenty full up on villain points. So Jaded Tempest has bought a hero point for anyone. Who's empty? Is anyone empty?
But I think
I only have one.
You only have one?
So.
All right, well,
I got two.
Jaded Tempest, we're gonna give that one to Carina. So that solves that up. All right.
Are we all at 2 now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not for long.
It'll be
better
fine.
than none or one.
It'll be fine. It's all fine. All right. So why don't we get started? When we last left our intrepid band of adventurers, our haunted intrepid band of adventurers, you had just defeated an ogre that had captured Lieutenant Swift Thistle in the night. You came racing to his rescue and freed him from a most gruesome fate of being broiled and devoured by this ogre.
I appreciate you guys.
And in the aftermath of that fight, you realized that the ogre had a silver bracelet, but upon closer inspection, you realized it wasn't a bracelet at all, but a crown. And looking at this crown, you saw that it had this kind of leaf tracery sculpted into it. Looking around the ruin that you were in, that this ogre was inhabiting, you saw this tracery along the walls of the ruin as well. Well, you went back to camp, got some rest, tended to the wounded, especially one of the guardsmen, the last wall guardsman, who was very seriously hurt. And you rested up the night, but in the morning, instead of heading out right away, you decided to perhaps explore this ruin. After all, it was there. The ogre obviously found treasure there, and maybe there was a little more to be found. Getting out of Rasmaran, you were squeezed for every copper that you had, so a little coin would go a long way towards solving some of the party's woes and make the journey quite a bit easier. So you decided to explore the ruins. You left the guards there, and I should note you left Severina there as well. She stayed behind with the family. The father and his 2 kids who were traveling with you, and you ventured forth into the ruins. Making your way down inside, you found it to be a rather large complex. After going down kind of a switchback stair and underneath an old rusty portcullis, you found your way into a chamber that had a number of doors leading out of it, 2 off to either side, and one going to a staircase going even further down. But in the middle of the floor was a skeleton that looked like it had been disturbed somewhat recently. But before that, it was clear that it had been there for a long time. It's covered in dust and grime. And the peculiar thing is that when you tried to kind of attach the skull back to the skeleton just to give it its proper, to have the bones be together, because you noticed the head was off, you realize that one of the vertebrae was cleanly sliced in half. So that's good.
That's fine.
And you thought this was rather odd and peculiar, and it was also pretty clear that this skeleton is what had the crown. So from there, you decided to explore around a bit. You went through an open doorway that led you to a storeroom filled with clearly ancient provisions, like old wheat and casks of some wine or liquor that had gone black and tar-like over the centuries that it's been down here. And from there, you kind of went to the other side, pried open that door, went down and found a bunch of barracks. It's possible they were cells, but it's hard to tell their true purpose. I mean, they had doors with locks on them, but is that a cell? Is that someone's room? Kind of hard to say. They look more like barracks, though. It doesn't have the typical trappings of a cell. And down at the end, you also found a kitchen. Now, I should note that throughout all this, you came to realize that the caverns and corridors that you were in, the corridors that you were in, were clearly carved out of a series of natural caverns, because there were a number of fissures in the walls and whatnot that didn't look recent. They looked possibly original, and they just carved around them and kind of carved these spaces out of a natural cave system. So, and some of those cracks and crevices go off deeper into the darkness below.
That's not spooky at all. That's fine. It's fine.
You continued your exploration and made your way downstairs. There you found a great library. There were a bunch of books and old scrolls tucked into the wall. But in the center of the room was a lectern. And I should note there are 2 doors leading out of this room as well. Two passageways. But in the center, you found a lectern. And on that lectern was a book. And you began to go through the book because it was open. And it appeared to be some sort of log or journal, a record book. And it became clear to you that this place and the place above was once the holdfast of one Prince Lirin Karasoth, a minor noble from Kyanin who came here to carve out a piece of this wilderness for his own. He built this keep, maintained it, struggled to carve out a niche in this land, surviving off the trade from those who used the road that traveled nearby. But then the murders began. At first he blamed it on workers and strife, but it soon became clear that was not the case, as more and more perished. There are multiple mentions in the book of the stomping, the clanking, the footsteps of the damned. And then there was the last entry, which I believe you read first, but it is the final entry of the book, and it says, "I am all that is left. My wife and child are gone." Yeah. Going from one page to another. "Fearing that they might be next. May Callistria grant me vengeance on these foul spirits that have driven away my love. I shall venture into the caves tonight, and this will end, one way or the other."
I think we know which way.
Yeah.
It was the other.
And upon that, you heard the rusting, cranking sound of a portcullis dropping, and somewhere up above in the darkness, you heard the sound of scraping, stomping boots.
Like footsteps of the damned, would you say?
Might be like footsteps of the damned, yeah.
Are you sure?
How's that key feeling?
I think it was normal when we checked.
You did check it. So
Yeah.
that moment, by the way, is exactly where we are picking up.
Yeah.
We are not moving forward 1 inch. That moment is where we pick up.
I think it'll be fine because Carina left a note saying where we were going.
Oh yeah, that's right. So there's a note,
At the
so
very
you're
least,
fine.
they're gonna find our body.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
This is like a
exactly.
prank, right? Like one of the kids that you guys were traveling with is doing this? Please?
Which direction does the sound? Where are we, and which direction is the sound coming from?
So you'll notice I'm not giving you a map of this place because that makes it more confusing. There is you are in a chamber that is at the bottom of a set of stairs. So you came down this place, and that was 2 sets of stairs. There was a passageway to the east that led to the storeroom that had a bunch of cracks in it going off into the darkness and into the caves. there was a passageway to the west that led to the barracks and the kitchen. There were some cracks over in that area. Many of them were dead ends, but some of those went somewhere as well. Then there was dead ahead, so the north direction, was a staircase going down. Going down that staircase, you find yourself in the library. The library itself has a passageway to the east and a passageway to the west. There are no cracks or crevices in this room.
Okay, so does it sound like it's coming from the way we came down, or from one of the... Okay.
From above.
It sounds the sound of the boom. That clearly came from up above, and the scraping, dragging, stomping noise is coming from that direction as well.
Okay.
Now, mind you, when you were up there, you didn't see anything.
Sure. Yeah.
Just that body on the ground. It's fine.
It's all fine.
So the question is, what would you like to do?
Cry.
I think that we should
I'm just going to enjoy some coffee.
back up a little bit so that whatever this creature is has to get drawn out into the open. And then Carina will rush up in front and try to engage it while you three figure out what to do.
So
Don't take too long.
So
let it come to us, you mean?
So wait here.
Yeah, I'll get out one of my flasks of alchemist fire and just kind of like, with my torch in the other hand, waiting for something to come down the stairs.
The way out is past this noise or whatever, and I feel like it's better to engage it in the open than to, find it on the staircase or something.
Is the noise getting closer?
Yeah, is it coming down?
So as you're stopped, it grew quiet there for just a moment, and you discussed this plan, and then you hear the stung, 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 stung.
It's going away?
No.
Now it's gone.
Run!
Yes.
You want
Perhaps we should make our way up.
You want to take point,
I feel
Carina?
like maybe we should leave.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling we're going to try and get to a portcullis and then not be able to leave. But that's a good idea.
But, I feel suddenly like my athletic ability has gone up significantly, so I might be able to take care of that.
Interesting.
Yes,
How did that happen?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I think I should grab this journal delicately, put it in my backpack.
sure.
Yeah.
If we find this family later on.
You get the book and you close it up and you do so with kind of a poof of dust and you're like you seal it up and the front cover, now that you actually see it, has the same kind of leaf pattern around it that the crown did, and you pick up the book, and underneath it on the lectern, it looks like something gouged into the wood, like the wood itself has this long scrape across it. I don't know what's up with that, but it looks old.
Yes, curious.
It doesn't look like anything that happened recently.
So the exit's that way.
Yeah, I think we don't have the time for this.
Yep.
This
Little illuminated exit sign.
Like my bow and arrow, just all right, let's head that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
After you,
I got my axe
upstairs.
out,
Yeah. Oh, you have your weapons drawn. Oh, okay. All right.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
That's it's filled
And
with
my shield.
unexpected decisions. All right, so
I'll take the rear with just my bow out,
So you make your way back up the stairs. Who's going first?
I think Carina
Sounds like Carina.
Yeah.
Second?
I'll be second.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go third and then
Third? And you'll
follow up.
Taken back, yeah.
Okay.
That's right, because the ogre couldn't fit down these stairs, so they're
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
The stairs leading up
yeah.
from the bigger chamber are 10 feet.
Yeah.
But down here, all the passageways were just 5 feet. So the ogre couldn't leave this room, at least not easily, and it apparently chose not to. You make your way back upstairs, and if you recall, I said there was the portcullis that was kind of like half in its rail or track, and it had the winch mechanism, but the winch mechanism was on the inside, which led you to believe that this wasn't a dungeon, but more of like a holdfast or a place of last stand.
Yeah.
So you make your way back up, and unsurprisingly, the portcullis is down. Now,
Is that body still there? Or are you getting
funny
to
you should ask.
Uh-oh.
Because the skeleton has been propped up in front of the portcullis. It is sitting with its back to it, but the head is gone.
Oh.
That's fine.
And worse still, the winch mechanism is gone. Like, it had like a winch
Right. Yeah.
wheel and twist. That's just gone.
I don't like this anymore. Why did we come down here?
Poor life decisions.
It's the last time I'm making that mistake.
I have a feeling that's not true.
How were we to know it was haunted?
Yeah.
Don't happen to know how to mix up like some acid or something, right? Just get through the.
Possibly.
I've got acid splash.
Do we want to make it so that this gate, which is presumably keeping this thing down here, protecting the world from its presence, do we want to destroy the gate? I mean, is that a bad idea to do that? Because then it can get out and follow us.
It was up when we came down.
Right, presumably because the ogre did that. Maybe?
I don't know.
Possibly,
I get the feeling it might be able to travel into like the dark spots we haven't explored yet. Like there's probably some tunnels connecting this place.
Okay, so we'll just risk it. Risk leaving a gate open for...
I think it'll depend on how desperate we are to get out.
Yeah.
If it's like coming at us.
Pretty desperate.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move our poor dead friend here.
We're gonna have to move our poor dead friend.
As you are standing in this room and talking about this, you can't help but notice that there's like a trail through the filth. Remember, there's filth on the floor, right?
Yeah.
And it's like these weird scrapes, like something was walking through the room with metal boots, but it dragged its feet.
Not strong enough to lift
Is
up
the
its
skeleton
legs.
wearing metal boots?
No. No, the skeleton it's just in its fine robes. I mean, well, it like whatever moved it didn't do so delicately. It's kind of just tossed up against
Okay,
the...
so it doesn't look like the skeleton moved on its own. It looked like something else moved it. I mean,
Sure.
If it moved on its own, it just fell against the gate like this.
Okay,
but I mean,
well-
it is kind of propped up against it.
Carina's gonna first poke at it a little bit with her axe and then move it.
Okay.
kinda
You poke at it.
gingerly-like.
You poke at it with your axe, and it kind of goes from being slumped to just kind of falling over on
Should
its
be
side.
fine. I'll just drag it out of the way.
Ruled out that one.
Okay. Well, you drag it kind of out of the way.
How heavy does the portcullis look?
Well, it looks like it's made of thick
Right.
iron, right? I mean, it looks old,
Yeah.
but it also looks...
But it's like kind of off its track or whatever. Is
Yeah,
it,
it
is
looked
it like we could pull it out or
Yeah, you know
bash it out?
how when you got something that's in like a sliding thing in a track and it gets kind of off kilter and then it won't move. You're wagering it was like that because one of the clamps was still latched and the other one had broke years ago. The latching, whatever the mechanism did, undid that other latch, so it just kind of rattled down in there and slammed down.
Okay.
When you try to move it, give me an athletics check.
All right, here we go. That's going to be a 24.
Nice.
It confirms one thing. It's locked in place. And without the latching mechanism, you're pretty sure you can't get it to unlock.
So I think we're locked down here until we find that mechanism to open it.
Cool.
But who could have taken it?
Scavenger hunt.
Well, you check the skeleton, and he doesn't appear to have it.
Okay.
He's like,
That goes our
I'm watching
primary
skeleton.
suspect. Yeah.
As you're standing there, you've got the passageway to the right, passageway to the left. The scrape marks, by the way, come from the right and go to the left. Now, the storeroom, there clearly wasn't anything in there, but there is a crack going off into the darkness. So you got both those directions. And,
Portcullises are like, they're...
yeah, it's bars,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
okay.
they're about this far apart each, about 2 inches.
All right. I'm going to leave another note, poke it through the gate, and just, explain creepy sounds.
okay, now we're stuck in here.
If we're stuck in here, please Dear God, help us.
I do really appreciate how you're leaving all of the notes for the future adventurers who come here, who find all of the extra
Well,
bodies.
presumably that's going to
Yeah.
be Sabrina and some guards when we don't come back in a couple hours, right? Like,
They wait for like a month. They're like,
Well, I
you
don't know.
find this note-
sounds like they were gone for a while. It's fine.
If you find this note and the door is open, run.
yeah.
So, while you're standing there, and you have like light sources, a lot
Yeah.
of light sources. Right? You have a light spell,
Yeah.
and you have an ever-burning torch,
I have an actual torch.
and you have an actual torch. Is it lit, or are you just?
Yeah,
all right, so that is going to take one of your hands, though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, so you're not going to be able to use a bow.
The idea is that as soon as combat starts, I throw the torch.
You just drop it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have plenty of light, which turning around, and kind of looking around the room because obviously you kind of like, was the latch mechanism here? Did it just did it get thrown in a corner or something? You look around and the passageway going back down, your light doesn't seem to be entering that space anymore. And worse still, there's like a change, like when you like have the torch, and the flame of the torch, because you actually have a real torch, kind of pulls toward it a little, and then pushes away from it a little, then pulls toward it a little, then pushes away from it a little.
Something's breathing, kind of? Or?
okay, Carina has dark vision.
Yeah, it doesn't go down there. You don't see anything.
That's really
It's black.
strange. This is really strange.
That
I
doesn't
should
seem
be
good.
able to see down there, and I can't.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So, if this is undead, this is terrifying. If this is Fae, this is hilarious.
Still terrifying.
Yes, no, you're not wrong.
Undead Fae.
Anything working down here would be terrible, but those are my two guesses.
Are there any like sconces or torch holders, I should say,
Yeah.
on the walls? I'm gonna take my ever-burning torch and kind of put it up.
Sure.
Maybe the one that's nearest to the portcullis, so that this room is lit for now.
Go ahead and use mine. Yours is worth a lot more.
Okay, fair enough. We'll use the regular torch.
Yeah, that'll burn for several hours.
And just want to step out, with the ever-burning torch again, just kind of like, stick it into the doorway a little bit and see if it lights up, or if it just goes darkness.
So you bring
Swallows
it
up my
you
hand.
bring it up to the darkness,
Yeah.
and as you get close to it, you kind of push the torch into it, and it's like it's just being extinguished. And then your fingers reach it,
creepy.
and it's just blackness,
Ooh, I'll pull it back out.
and it lights back up.
That's so weird. Have,
don't
has
like
anybody,
it.
have any of you seen anything like this?
I almost took that spell.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Is it magic?
But, I mean,
Do you want me to
probably.
roll something to see if I recognize?
Yeah, I mean, you were just looking at your book.
Yeah, I
It's
was
actually
just
in there.
looking
Yeah,
at it.
give me an
Can
Arcana check.
Okay. I think I read something about this in the spell book. Well, good thing I just buffed that 13.
I mean, that is actually enough to identify just a darkness spell.
Okay.
So this one is particularly powerful though, because if it's negating
Yeah.
even like light sources that you bring into it,
Yeah.
it's very powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, not ridiculously, but powerful
Right.
enough that it's negating other stuff.
Definitely.
You're a professor and you like to experiment with things. What if you stick your head in there?
You're a professor.
No.
You see?
No,
Stick
that's,
my.
Yeah, stick your head in there like with the torch and see if like if you can see into it like once you cross into the darkness.
pointing out the prince is
Okay.
missing his head. Okay, it takes heads off, whatever this thing is. That's a terrible idea.
Do you
Yeah,
have
you
any
do
other
what you
idea?
want to do.
Anything but that.
Would you like to try it instead?
Yeah, okay. Let me try something really quickly here. So I'll go ahead and just kind of like look into the darkness, and in Sylvan, I'm just gonna be like, "Hello, this is a pretty funny game you're playing."
Are you going into the dark? So
No,
you're just looking at
no,
it.
I just chastised them for doing that. Goodness no.
Just checking.
I mean, he touched it and his hand didn't fall off.
That's true.
It's
No.
his hand.
Still a hand.
Yeah, you kind of call out into the darkness, and you don't get a response.
Take a pebble and just chuck it down the stairs, and see if it like sucks up sound as well.
You hear a ding, ding, ding,
Okay.
ding, 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 ding.
You hear someone go, ow!
So we have two things. We can go looking for this thing that took the mechanism, or we can wait here and see if it comes back.
Yeah. I mean, so the darkness is coming from in front of us, but the footsteps went off to the side?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Weren't we just down
Yeah,
there?
we just
we
came
were
from
down
there.
Yeah.
That's why
That's why.
that's extra weirdness. Mm-hmm. So, should we find
It's
this?
possible this thing is playing some kind of sick game with us. We could be sitting here for who knows how long. I say we seek this thing out and find what
Might
it
as well,
has.
yeah, deal with it as quickly as we can.
Yes.
I'm in agreement with the professor.
As you're standing there and talking about this, you look off kind of toward the open door that leads to the barracks. That passageway is now black as well.
Could be hurting us in a particular direction. I say we not step into the darkness for now and follow it to the storeroom.
Okay.
So
No, it
as
came
you,
from the storeroom.
No, but that's the only room that the only
not-
passageway that is
not
not.
dark.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you look toward the storeroom, and as you do, you can see just this well of blackness that comes forward and now consumes that direction as well.
Well,
Okay.
perfect.
I have some rope. I feel like we should all, do the little thing where you all hold on to the rope.
Sure.
So that we don't lose each other if it suddenly gets so dark
Is it
that we can't
enough
see.
to tie it around our waists and
Like the little, like they do for like preschoolers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone stay in your line and have your buddy system. I mean, that's
like
a good
it.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead the way, Karina. Pick a direction at this point.
Or
Do
we
you
just
want me to pick a direction?
Yes, pick a
Oh.
direction. The way can go the way it
they're-
went, or the way it came from, or back even back down the
And
stairs.
they're all pitch black now.
Yeah.
Does it want us to wait here? Or is it just gonna get dark in here too?
We're going down to the storeroom. Or over into the storeroom.
You're going over into the
following the drag marks.
All right. That's where they came from.
Yeah, away from the drag marks.
Okay. Wait.
It went from the storeroom
the
across this room to the barracks, and then the first room we saw go dark was the staircase that we just came back up.
And then
And then the bears.
Yeah.
whatever. Let's go into the storeroom.
Sure.
All right. So, one by one, you tie yourselves off using a rope and make your way into the storeroom. It's a disorienting sensation at first when you walk into it because your vision just ends. You're surrounded by inky blackness. Prevents you from being able to see anything at all. You walk into this cold, empty space. You have a sense of what the room was shaped like, what it looks like. So, you're kind of able to navigate your way in, and by reaching out and touching a wall now and again, you can make sure that you've reached the kind of threshold of the entry into the door, because there's a short passageway that then leads into the chamber. And you make your way down in this direction, and you've kind of reached the threshold. Carina, you're in the lead, and as you approach it,
Got my shield up.
there's an echo, and it's all of your footsteps. And when you reach that edge, you kind of stop for a moment. And it's at that point that you realize that the footsteps didn't stop.
Yeah. Okay. They still sound like our footsteps, though.
Yeah.
Oh, what I wouldn't give for some of Sev's lively, jaunty flute music. About now to cheer up this dark, dank space.
And as that, because it goes on for a good 10 seconds longer than all of you have stopped. And then you just kind of hear this dry cackle, this kind of echoing out of the distance, this kind of
How far away does it sound?
a long ways away. It doesn't sound right near you at all.
Okay. Karina will shout out something like, you coward, using darkness to hide your misdeeds in the name of Pharasma, show yourself.
You don't get a response.
Nope.
Your voice kind of echoes out into the darkness, and it just dies away, and you're left standing here in pitch blackness.
All right, now what? Keep going? Where? I don't know.
So we're in complete darkness still. Like, it never went away.
No.
All right.
Cool.
We could try pressing forward and hope the spell ends. We can listen to the evil, creepy cackling.
This passageway doesn't actually go anywhere unless you want to start crawling down a blackened crack
I
deep
don't
into the
really
earth.
want to do that. So
It doesn't seem
I mean,
better.
take your own potato
if we
potato.
if we can take that torch and if we stick that into the crack in the wall, does the darkness go into the
No, you can
cave?
you can kind of fish around and try and find the crevice and bring the torch over to it.
Yep.
But the entire time you're doing all of this, everything's pitch black.
Okay,
Nothing
I
changes.
guess we try another passageway.
Yes.
I
Back out to
guess, yeah.
the vestibule.
Did the darkness started after we took the book off the podium? Should we put it back?
An
It's gonna take us a while to find our way back down there, but
Yes,
Got
yes.
any other things to do right
No,
now?
let's try that.
I'm not going anywhere because that
a fine
portcullis is
idea.
closed.
Yeah.
So we can try it.
Is the central chamber also now dark, or do we
Well,
come
you don't know. You have to
Yeah,
go
we're
back.
still-
we're going back
You
there.
can't see
Let's go back.
anything while you're in
Right,
this
right,
chamber.
right. Let's go back.
You
Heading
make
back
your
there.
you make your way back, and you have vision in this
Okay.
chamber, which allows you to see that the skeleton has been moved again.
No.
Oh, come on. we
It
didn't
now
even
is
hear it
posed as
move.
if it was like crawling up the portcullis. Its arms are kind of draped over some of the bars.
Oh boy. Still.
Head is still missing.
Still
How
no head.
far between
Real funny.
the room that the entryway room and the library, like feet wise? How many feet is that?
How many feet are you from the library to the entrance? The room itself is about 25 feet across. Then there's the staircase going down that's about 10 feet. There's a short passageway after that. So grand total, you're talking about 45, 50 feet.
Okay.
Okay, never mind.
Now I'm curious.
Well, I was just thinking like somebody stays in the room with the vision and holds the end of the rope because it's 50 feet long.
Yeah.
And then somebody else goes and returns the book.
So you've made your way back in, and the darkness that leads down to the library appears to have gone.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
I'm even
That
more
rules out that
suspicious
theory.
now.
Well, no, still, it's something to try. Let's head back down there and make obeisance to this darkness. And put
Should
this
we just
book
take
back.
the skeleton with us so it can't?
If you want to carry it.
I mean,
No, not really.
There you go.
we should do something with. No, we shouldn't do something with the skeleton. Sorry, that was.
No, we should not do anything with the skeleton.
Let's
That's
just
probably bad.
leave it where it lie.
Just,
Climbing the portal.
Yes.
I'm just picturing your Pharasman just like carrying the skeleton over your head.
Yeah, we're gonna need to do some blessings for that poor soul once we finally get the body out of here.
It's
whole
fine.
place.
I'm sure it's all fine.
This whole place.
I just want
Cursed.
to know if it's moving or someone else is moving it. That's all. That's all I want to know. And also how to get out of
It
here.
was probably whoever did that Palpatine laugh.
I
Yeah.
suspect that there's something messing with us down here.
To the library?
Down to the library.
All
Back
right.
down to the library.
Well, you make your way back down to the library. You get down to the library and you find it in complete disarray. The books and scrolls have been knocked out of their shelves and are now in piles and heaps on the floor in front of them.
And we didn't hear any of this happening?
Nope.
Cool.
Quiet. I'll get the book out, the big journal, and I will just sort of announce to the room. All right, spirits, we will put this book back where we found it, so we will not disturb whatever resting place that you find yourself, and perhaps you may see it upon yourself to let us leave this chamber.
Okay. You all still tied together with a rope?
Sure.
Yeah.
curious.
Safety in numbers.
Just curious whether or not you had. Is there a slack between you, or is it like 5 foot? Each one of you in turn. I'm just curious.
I mean, there's a little bit of slack.
I'm just. Is there like enough for you to be 5 feet apart, or is it like you have to be standing next to each other?
Probably 10 feet apart.
Well, you have 50 foot of rope, so
Yeah,
I mean,
we can do
you
that.
need 3 gap pieces, and each one of you, if you're going to have it like tied to a belt loop or something like that, I'm assuming it's not tied around you. You tell me.
Sure. I don't know. There's probably 5 to 10 feet between us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm just curious about the logistics of it.
He's just wondering if we're in like splash formation.
I am just interested in setting the proper scene. Now, so you put the book back and make your apologies to the spirits, you know, you're just kind of all standing there, and you're kind of look around, and you've got the passageway going off to the east. You don't know where that leads. You've got a passageway going off to the west. You don't know where that leads. And then you have the passageway to the south that leads back upstairs to the room with the skeleton, henceforth referred to as the portcullis room. Storage room, portcullis room, barracks. Library.
Are either of those side corridors pitch black?
No.
Could look around down here some more.
The staircase going up is now, though.
Yes, of course. If nothing else happens, I say we take a look around, and maybe there's a few more further clues to what is going on here, and maybe the spirit will show itself.
You had mentioned that there was big stompy boots that were moving around at some point earlier. Do you mind if I do like a survival check to kind of start seeing if I can track what might be moving around in here?
Well, so looking around in the dust and grime down here, it's impossible to tell if anything moved through this chamber. When
That's
the
fair.
books and whatnot were thrown off the shelves, they threw so much dust and grime all over the room that it's impossible to tell if anything's been down here. So there's no tracks to follow right now. If you find more, you can attempt to check, but in this room, it's pointless.
Okay. I'll go to the nearest doorways if people will let me and just start kind of checking there too.
Your choice of east or west.
Okay, let's head east.
East.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you make your way up to the doorway to the east and look into it. The light kind of shines into an ancient chamber that has like a desk in the middle of it. Almost looks like some sort of office. Behind it, there is a tapestry hung up on the wall. It's ancient looking. And it depicts in the center, it like has like a portrait sewn into it of an elven man of regal looking bearing, looking off into a far distance, looking off into his own future. Behind him is a forest and a solitary manor house. You can't help but imagine that this must be a portrait of Prince Karasov. And but there are gigantic slash marks through it, as if it's been cut, and its eyes are both X'd, and like the tapestry is like fallen and kind of crossed out, and the neck has been sliced through, like not all the way through the tapestry, so the bottom is like hanging loose, that's what you see when you just look in the room, because you're only getting a thin sliver of room.
Right.
I'm sure that's how they made it originally.
that's how they did that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do we want to step inside and investigate the room?
Yes. This is a
Are you
desk.
going first now?
Let's
I mean, like
shield
reverse?
up and head in.
Yeah.
I'll have the arrows trained right over your head, so yeah.
All right.
Okay. You step into the chamber. You find out that this is indeed an office. It's not a very large chamber. There is crevices in the walls of this on opposite sides that both lead off into darkness. You don't know where they go, but they lead off into darkness. And you can now see that along one of the side walls there was a chest, but it looks like it was smashed and broken open aeons ago. But it was broken open, and all of its coin, looks like it was the treasury, is spilled on the floor. There's a giant heap of copper, mostly copper, silver, and some gold. But it's been down here for so long, all of the copper has turned green, all of the silver is tarnished. The gold is just grimy, but that has become kind of a mess. It's coin, it's money, but it's really old and just kind of, I wouldn't say it's fused, but it's probably
Gross.
grimed together.
Well, I think we found our travel funds.
I'm not touching that.
I,
I'm not touching anything in here.
You would wager that there has to be, there quite possibly could be like well over 100 gold in coins here on the floor. It's like spilled across the floor. Now the treasure chest itself looks like it was smashed like right in the top, like someone just sliced the thing in half. And the chest just broke open and spilled all of its coins on the floor.
I feel like we should maybe wait to take more things until we figure out what is getting angry that we're taking things, potentially.
Potentially. Is this desk a desk with drawers situation?
You go around the back, and indeed, it does have like one drawer kind of underneath the main lip of it. The rest is just solid.
I'm gonna open that up.
You go to open it up, and there's a tiny little lock that looks like it was made of copper. It's completely greened over, and you don't have the key anyway.
I could probably break it open.
smash
right?
it. I mean, everything else is broken down here.
Fair enough.
It's probably brittle-ish.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yes.
try and break that lock. Just twist it really.
Yeah. Give me an athletics check.
25.
Oh yeah, you snap it right off. It takes a bit of work, and eventually it's the wood actually that gives way, and like the thing it was mounted in just snaps, and the entire lock just stays in place as you open the door. Because it's just like the whole mechanism is just fused by verdigris and rust, and you pop it open, and inside you find a couple of things. One is some like it's a case. It's made of like a fine dark wood, and it's about 8 inches, 9 inches long, about 2 inches wide, about 1 inch deep. There's a case in there, and then there is also a small like folio. Looks like maybe a personal journal or diary or ledger. It's not very big though. It's like a tiny little book. And the last thing you find is this ancient, and I do mean ancient looking hat.
Oh,
Flat cap.
Kind of, yeah. It's folded up in here. It's an ancient looking, like almost like a wool cap that is rust colored.
Hey, wizard, is this magical?
Hey, I can probably find out.
Sure.
Do I just detect magic, or?
Yeah, if you detect magic, it'll tell you whether or not anything in this room is. It'll tell you if there's magic in the area that isn't magic that you already know.
Right.
of.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And I forget. Do I roll for that?
in the meantime, I will unceremoniously just be checking the coins to make sure they're not trapped, and then just start scooping them into a backpack. Like,
Sure.
it's just very, very natural looking.
Sure. So it actually takes work because, like, occasionally you'll find like a group of copper that are literally now fused by their verdigris and the kind of tarnish and rust. So they like, you have to kind of like. It's like trying to break apart a block of ice cubes, and you kind of throw it on the ground and it shatters, and you pick up all the pieces of ice. It's like that.
Yeah.
But instead, it's money.
I'm just gonna load those into like a small belt pouch so I have like weapons, so I can just throw them at
You could
people.
throw chunks of money at people. Yeah, sure. Money fight. All right, so you can do that.
Okay.
So you ping out detect magic, and something in the area is magic. You don't know what, but something
Okay.
is.
There's some magic in this room that
You're
is
not-
not just us. But I can't tell like where. I can't pinpoint
No,
the
not
direction
really.
or
No,
anything.
that would take more time. You can like work with all the pieces and spend like 10 minutes each determining if they're magical and kind of what their properties are.
I
That
can, but
requires-
do we have
that requires
time?
a check. Yeah, I mean, you could just scoop stuff up and worry about it later.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a look at this journal. Let's take a look at this case. I think start with the journal.
Yeah.
Open that up, and I'll start reading it, as is my wont.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see here. Put on my specs.
So you start going
Cheaters.
through the journal. It is in Elven, just like the
Yes.
book upstairs. The journal looks like it was started because the book upstairs is dated to around 4582, around that area. The journal is a few years after that, is when it starts. So the book upstairs spans several years.
Yeah.
It starts in 4582, and then everything ends by like 4589.
Okay.
So it's about 7 years total, and they're the log entries are pretty infrequent, but they're in there. This starts in 4585, and it is a journal of the Lord's like summary judgments and rulings he's had to make, and like whereas the book upstairs is more like, here's the history of these lands. This is like a list of all the laws he had to pass, and like those who he sentenced or judged having violated those laws. It's kind of arcane. It would take you a bit of time to kind of analyze the whole thing and really understand it, but it's like some weird like legal tome of like the laws of the realm.
What's the last page say?
Yeah. Is there a final entry? Is there? Yeah.
If you flip all the way to the end, and it the end was about 6 months before the end of the other book. It doesn't. And there's nothing about it that's particularly special about the end entry.
Are any of the, for the quick glance, do you find that any of the summary judgments are beheadings? Is that like
Definitely illegal to murder.
No, I just meant put to death by beheading.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, flipping through it, since you asked that question in specific, looking at the cause of execution, because there were some people who had to be executed over the years. Mostly, there are some deserters, and it looks like there was one murder that happened very early on, then we start hitting all the murders that happened later.
Right.
And initially, there were people who were tried and convicted of those murders.
Oh boy.
Before it became apparent that, like, we killed the murderer, yay! Somebody else just got murdered in the same way. Curses! Must have been somebody else.
Next time.
So, we'll get you next time, murderer. But yeah, the method of execution is beheading. I want
to look at that
all of them.
First murder.
Okay.
The first murderer who was beheaded.
Okay.
And is there a name attached to that, to this criminal?
Yeah, there is. The name was Winthrop Carden.
Okay. Just in case this is a vengeful spirit,
Angry
so
ghost.
the circumstances around that,
Right.
Winthrop was a worker who was helping to excavate the caves down here, and he killed one of his fellow workers by beheading him.
Oh.
And reading the whole thing, you now read that whole entry. He chopped the head off of one of his fellow workers, and put a woolen cap on it. And then you look down and you see the woolen cap.
Is this rust-colored from dried blood?
And that's what it says in the journal entry, and then executed by beheading.
What was the name of the...
Justice, and then it says in what you can only now imagine was Prince Karethsaw's personal hand script. It says justice served as denoted by law.
Right.
Or so they thought.
Have you been reading this all out loud to us?
I will definitely bring it up once I've flipped through and had some of my own thoughts and be like, oh yes. It turns out there was a fellow here who helped to excavate these caves back in the day, killed one of his fellow workers by beheading him, and then he himself was beheaded. So there's a whole lot of rolling heads about this place, and it could be, as I'm speaking merely from conjecture here, that this is possibly related to our Mr. Stompy Boots.
I think we've.
It could also be the victim, couldn't it? I mean, if he's angry
Yes,
about,
possibly that.
I don't know, does it
going
say
around beheading
anything about the victim's name? Or,
No, the victim's name isn't mentioned here.
okay.
And what's inside this case?
You open up the case, and inside the case is an exquisite fountain pen, like quill and nib, and 2 vials of ink. It is made of like silver and bits of like obsidian, silver and obsidian, and then it has this delicate silver nib.
Nice.
Yes, and then so the other thing I should have said before I opened this pen up was that the victim this cap was placed on it, or a woolen cap was placed on it. It could be too much of a coincidence that we find one here inside the drawer. Perhaps the prince took it as evidence and then just kept it.
I guess. Is the cap mentioned any other place in the book?
Take me some time to go through all of
Yeah, I
these
guess, yeah, sorry.
notes, but I mean,
Keep reading. No, I'm just kidding.
that's what we know so far.
Huh.
What's up?
What do we do now, I guess?
We can check out the other room.
Yeah. Let's go check out the other room.
While they're chatting, I'm gonna go do a quick perception check. Just kind of listen outside the door, see if I can hear anything moving around. Stompy boots. That's going.
What's your perception bonus? This isn't a check that you get to
Oh,
make.
sorry. +9.
+9.
Dang, yo.
Yeah, it was a nat 20.
Okay. Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, but +9.
You go and listen down each direction, and you don't hear anything.
Okay.
It's all quiet.
Kind of
On the way to
disconnect
different-
myself from the rope and just kind of go stand near the doorway. And now that I have like a giant fanny pack full of just loose coins.
You've managed to scoop up a lot of them. You can't carry all of them. It's like it was like a whole chest full of coins.
Well, they.
So,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, there's too much for one person to carry.
The gold and silver is what went in first then.
While they are talking about the journal and stuff, Carina is just gonna poke around the room, see if there's anything in there.
Yeah. What's your perception?
+6.
Don't see anything. You take a good look around the chamber, and if there's something hidden here, you haven't found it. It's pretty much just the desk, the chair that's behind it.
Were there any fissures in this room?
Yeah, there's 2. One to the north and one to the south. So, having explored this chamber, you can head back out and head the other way if you like.
Yeah.
Taking the cap with us, are we holding on to it?
Grab it.
I'll hold on to it.
I mean, I don't really want to like find it somewhere else
That's
that
fair.
we didn't bring it
Yes.
to.
Okay.
That's a good point.
We
I'll
find
have
the
all of
missing
that.
skull,
I'll have all
like
the cap
wearing
and
the
the pen.
beanie.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Oh no. Okay. This other room.
Yeah.
So you make your way into the other chamber, and you find it. You leave the library behind, and you enter the other chamber. There's a short passageway, and then it opens up into a small chapel. There are 3 pews on each side, and up at the front there is an altar. And behind the altar is the sacred wasp symbol of Callistria.
Ooh,
And the place has a lot of wood carving in here. The walls and whatnot are made of stone, but the altar itself is made of carved kind of wood, and it's kind of exquisite. And then its edges go up into these large branches that then frame the whole end of the room. It's very nice. The altar itself has been smashed. Looks like it's been sliced and carved into pieces. And there is another passageway leading out of this chamber to the north. There is a set of, like a stone door.
well, I mean,
What we often find next to chapels, though, and underground is often catacombs.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
Let's be on the lookout. Eyes peeled.
And the stone door is closed, I imagine.
It's actually open. Well, it's not fully open. It's not fully closed. It's open about 3 or 4 inches right now.
well, let's go find out what's in there.
I'm scared. Okay.
So, with a bit of a tug, it takes a little bit of effort. There's this kind of crunching, grinding noise as that door slowly slides open. Beyond it is another short staircase going down even further into the darkness. However, from here you can make out the flickering light. There is some sort of flickering, almost like firelight down there.
It looks like there's firelight down there. Should we go?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious what it is. So
Pay attention to the key and see if it.
am.
See what happens.
Yeah.
So you make your way down deeper into the darkness, and you kind of come out of the darkness of this short set of stairs, and you find yourself, you are correct, in what appears to be the catacombs. There is a vast chamber down here, and it is large and looks like it curves off into the distance. That looks like this is where they buried the dead for this place for the entire time. The light that you are seeing is from tiny candles that are all over the place, on the floor, in the niches, and scattered throughout this place are bones and skulls that look like they were at one point in time properly interred, but now have been tossed about and scattered around the room in piles and heaps. In the center of the room is one skull in particular on top of an ancient sarcophagus. The skull, although that's hard to be certain with so many around you, at first you're like, that's weird, until you realize that skull is the one from upstairs.
Yeah, didn't we put this circlet back on?
Yeah, it has the crown on. And as you march into this, as you kind of all enter this chamber, the key grows incredibly cold.
Cold key.
And the bones everywhere suddenly start stirring and reassembling.
This is not good.
Nope.
We should probably
There
go.
are dozens of skeletons down here that are in the process of assembling.
I feel like we should go back upstairs.
Yeah, let's close that stone door.
Yeah,
with
slam
us
it
on the
door.
other side.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they are in the process of putting themselves back together.
Sure.
We're in the
it's not
process of
immediate.
running.
Yeah,
Okay,
that.
you turn and make your way back upstairs. Now, Swift Thistle, you can kind of go first because you're not attached to a rope like everybody
yeah.
else is.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody
Oh,
else
no.
you said you untied yourself.
Yeah.
So you make your way back upstairs, up into the chapel.
I'm careful going around corners, by the way.
Yeah, no, I understand. And everybody else rushes up behind you, and you start to push to close the door. Now, I didn't make you make a check to open it because you had all the time in the world.
Sure.
But now that you're trying to close it quickly, I'm going to need an athletics check.
Can we all be shoving against it?
I can say 2 of you can assist, but all 4 of you cannot. There's just not
Yeah.
enough room for
Okay,
everybody
so-
to get around the door.
21.
21, who's assisting? And if they are, they
Try-
can make athletics checks to
I'll
help.
do it.
My
All right, here we go.
strength
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Great.
so
Okay.
just Swift Thistle.
Not 20 again.
That's
26.
So that helps.
Adrenaline helps, yeah.
So the 2 of you are trying to, this is one of those checks that you can't technically fail. It's just the worse you do, the longer it takes to close. So you're grinding and closing this door, and just as it's like this close, the first skeletal hand comes up and the door slams shut, and it just crumbles to ash as that hand gets severed off of the skeleton, and you manage to get the door closed. And even as you do so, you can feel like scraping. You can hear it from the other side, and then the room you are in suddenly is plunged into absolute darkness, and that is where I am ending today's session.
Spooky.
Thank you for watching,
fine.
everybody. I hope you tune in next week for a special Halloween edition of the Oblivion Oath next Thursday at noon. We hope to see you there, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Spooky goodbye.
Bye.